The process of World War II. B-29 bomber, air-sea rescue operations, Saipan. The B-29 superfortress was a marvel of wartime engineering, capable of carrying devastating payloads across thousands of miles. It was the backbone of the US strategic bombing campaign in the Pacific, bringing the war to Japan's doorstep. Yet, behind the glory of its missions lay a grim reality. The risks of flying such missions over vast stretches of open ocean were immense. A mechanical failure, a navigational error, or a hit from enemy anti-aircraft fire could turn a routine sortie into a desperate struggle for survival. For the crews of these bombers, the Pacific Ocean was both ally and adversary. It was the expanse they had to cross to reach their targets, and the unforgiving abyss they prayed they would never descend into. When a B-29 went down, survival depended on the swift and precise coordination of air-sea rescue operations, many of which were directed from bases like Saipan. These missions were as dangerous and uncertain as the bombing runs themselves, and they were defined by the same mix of courage, ingenuity, and suffering. The crisis at sea. When disaster struck a B-29 crew, it was often without warning. A sudden engine failure, a catastrophic fuel leak, or shrapnel tearing through the fuselage would force the pilots to make a life-or-death decision: ditch the aircraft or bail out. Ditching, while preferred, was harrowing. The pilots had to level the plane, cut engines, and glide it down onto the ocean's surface, hoping the seas were calm enough to avoid the plane breaking apart on impact. Bailing out came with its own horrors. Crew members, disoriented by the chaos, scrambled for parachutes and leaped into the unknown. Many found themselves injured before even hitting the water, and upon landing, they faced the daunting task of inflating life rafts or simply clinging to their Mae West life preservers, all while hoping the ocean's currents wouldn't drag them apart from one another. The equipment they carried was their only lifeline. Life rafts, sometimes no larger than a dining table, offered limited protection against the relentless sun, salt water, and frigid nights. Emergency kits included flares, signal mirrors, water rations, and dye markers, all designed to make them visible to rescuers. Yet, even with these tools, survival was a matter of endurance and luck. The response. When a bomber went down, time was critical. On Saipan, rescue teams worked tirelessly to detect distress signals from the aircrew's emergency beacons. These devices emitted faint radio signals, often overrun by static, but they were the first clue to the crew's location. Radar operators and visual spotters scanned the vast ocean for signs of the downed airmen, while rescue missions were mobilized with breathtaking urgency. One of the most critical components of these missions were the Dumbo aircraft, modified PBY Catalina flying boats and other seaplanes designed to land on water. These aircraft were equipped with life rafts, medical supplies, and specialized crews trained in extraction and first aid. Yet deploying them was no simple task. Dumbo pilots had to navigate treacherous seas, often under the threat of enemy fighters or anti-aircraft fire, to locate survivors in an expanse of blue that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. The pilots of the Dumbo aircraft faced enormous challenges. Spotting a single life raft or a small cluster of men in the vast Pacific was akin to finding a needle in a haystack. Waves could obscure survivors for hours, and rough seas made landing the seaplanes a delicate and dangerous operation. Once they touched down, rescuers had to haul exhausted, often injured airmen aboard, a task that became a desperate race against time if enemy aircraft were spotted nearby. The naval lifeline. In many cases, naval vessels formed the backbone of air-sea rescue operations. Destroyers and smaller rescue ships patrolled mission routes, standing by to respond to distress signals. These ships braved the same enemy waters as the B-29 crews, knowing that speed was essential to save lives. When they arrived at the scene, the grim realities of rescue became clear. Survivors, some burned or battered from their ordeal, clung to rafts or floated in their Mae Wests, weakened by dehydration, hypothermia, or shock. Sailors aboard the rescue ships faced the heartbreaking task of retrieving both the living and the dead, often pulling unresponsive bodies from the water alongside those who still clung to life. The human cost. For the airmen, the wait for rescue was a test of physical and mental endurance. The sun blistered their skin by day, and the chill of the night sapped their strength. Salt water ate away at their wounds, and sharks circled beneath the surface, drawn by the blood and thrashing. Every second felt like an eternity, and even those who were eventually rescued often bore scars, both physical and psychological, that lasted a lifetime. For the rescue teams, the job was no less harrowing. The knowledge that they couldn't save everyone weighed heavily on them, and the risks they faced to bring back the living made every mission a gamble. Yet they persevered, driven by the belief that every life saved was worth the danger. A testament to ingenuity and sacrifice. The air-sea rescue operations based out of Saipan were as much a triumph of engineering as they were of human compassion. The B-29 superfortress was a machine of destruction, but the men who flew and supported it relied on the delicate machinery of rescue, emergency beacons, seaplanes, radar, and destroyers to survive the dangers of the Pacific. These missions were fraught with peril, but they saved thousands of lives. For every B-29 crew brought back from the brink, there was a story of heroism. A Dumbo pilot who landed in treacherous waves, a sailor who braved shark-infested waters to pull a man from the sea, a radar operator who refused to give up the search. The air-sea rescue teams were the unsung heroes of the Pacific theater. They worked in the shadows of the war, often overlooked, yet their contributions were invaluable. Without them, the toll on B-29 crews would have been immeasurably higher, and the legacy of the superfortress would be far darker. This process, marked by extraordinary bravery, relentless effort, and profound human suffering, stands as a testament to the determination of those who fought to save lives in the most unforgiving of circumstances. The story of air-sea rescue is not just one of machines and missions. It is a story of humanity in the face of war's unrelenting cruelty.